Okay, let's begin with some topics in Chapter 2. Start out with Section 2.1. Here, we're going to discuss the idea of variables. So consider the relationship n plus 2 equals, a little too thick. Well, in this relationship, and we've done this stuff before, we probably had a number here and we did some algebra. In this relationship, n is a variable. And a variable is nothing more than a symbol or a term that can take on different values. Okay. Now the values that the variable take on, when we have an expression like this, the value that the variables takes on, we'll call that the domain. So the domain of a variable in other words, the domain is the values that n can be. So the domain of our expression is the value that n can be. And yeah, maybe I want to be a little more specific here, and I want to say domain of an expression or equation. So let's come up with a domain for our expression above. So n plus 2 equals, let's say our domain for this, we're going to claim equals the set 0, 1, 2, and 3. These four numbers. That's our domain. So now what we can do is we can evaluate the expression for each value in our domain. So we can evaluate so n plus 2 equals so when n is 0, we got 0 plus 2. This equals 2. 1 plus 2 equals 3. 2 plus 2 equals 4. And 3 plus 2 equals 5. Well, the result we get, we call the range of the equation. So we have our domain of the equation, or the values that n can take on, and then we have the result, or the range of our equation. So we could do this, perhaps, with a different equation. Let's say we have 30 minus x squared equals, let's say our domain in this situation is 0, 2, and 5. Those are the values that we say, those are the only values we say that x can take on. So we are deciding, and it's pretty much arbitrarily deciding, that these are the only x values allowed. Okay? So, if that's our domain, then our range is what? I'll call the range R, the set R. So if we put 0 in here, 30 is one value in our range. If we put 2 in here, 2 squared is 4. 30 minus 4 is 26. And if we put 5 in here, 5 times 5 is 25. 30 minus 25 is 5. So here's our range associated with that domain. So the range is, so often this term, sometimes we'll say, is made up of our dependent variable, and then this is independent. No, got that backwards. This is our independent variable because we can set the values to the values we want, and then our range depends on what the independent variable is. So this is our dependent variable. Okay, so we can also work problems out, expressions out with multivariables. A multivariable expression I could say like h equals 3x plus 2w let's say, okay, so what if x equals 1, w equals 4, what does h equals? Well, h equals 3 times x plus 2 times w. X is 1, w is 4. This then equals 3 plus 8 is 11. And we could have more than 2 variables. We could have 3 variables, 4 variables, so on and so forth. That's essentially the type of topics talked about in section 1.